Reprise du débat, the honourable member for Vancouver Centre.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to speak. I have been sitting here listening very much to everyone speak to this issue. I have no doubt about the intent of everyone in this place who have been concerned, who have had personal tragedies, and who really want to see something done about this. I want to say that I am actually pleased to go after my colleague from Vancouver East, because we feel like we began this so many years ago in 1998 when I was a minister responsible for the downtown east side overdose problem. She was the provincial minister, and the mayor, of course, was, as she said, Philip Owen. This was responding at the time to what we in the downtown east side of Vancouver felt was a crisis. There were 417 overdose deaths in 1 year. This is nothing compared to what we're talking about now. But in response to that, the three governments came together. We signed an agreement called the Vancouver Agreement, in which we committed to working in a nonpartisan way to deal with this problem, because we felt that the lives were being lost was greater than the partisanship that we have always fought for, or fought against and created political spats over. And so when we started this, out of the Vancouver Agreement came the actual four-pillar approach to drug use, and that was a prevention, it was treatment, it was safe, it was harm reduction, and it was at the end of the day, decriminalization had something to do with it, or criminal abilities had something to do with it. But the point about it was that we had agreed, and we worked hand in hand. Our bureaucrats from all three levels of government sat down regularly every week around a table and talked about what was falling through the cracks and what was being duplicated and how we could move forward. It was a very successful way of dealing with it, and I hear today that we have some provinces that don't want to work on this issue, and we have some municipalities that don't want to work on this issue. This kind of way of working together could move the agenda forward into getting things done. But I wanted to give people some facts about this particular problem. In September 2018, there was a 38% increase in overdose deaths in British Columbia, and I'm using British Columbia as a national ground zero. While the Vancouver East was the provincial ground zero, the national ground zero is now British Columbia. So we've seen a 38% increase over September 2017, which was an 8% increase over the month prior to that, which is August 2018. We saw that we have 4.3 deaths a day in BC for the month of September only. We had 90% of those deaths were in people between the ages of 19 to 59. 72% of those were between the ages of 30 to 59. So we know the demographic that are at greatest risk. And we know that this is not an urban problem. We're seeing rates that are the highest now in Thompson Caribou, in Northern Interior, in Okanagan, and in South Vancouver Island. So this is not an urban phenomenon, so we cannot dismiss it as being not in our backyard. I think we know that we cannot also limit this to the stereotypical addict who is lying on the street, who is homeless, who is shooting up drugs. This is now 30-year-olds and families with young children who are using these substances because, for whatever reason, either alcohol is no longer doing it for them or whatever, but we're seeing young families who should know better, who are educated, who are utilizing these drugs. And we find, too, that there are young people in universities, and we have single young people who have so much potential who are actually getting overdoses. And I just wanted you to know that, again, to tell you the truth that this is not a street phenomenon, 58% of the overdoses, 58% of all overdoses occurred in private residences, 28% in other private places. Only 13% of overdoses occurred on the streets. And so, therefore, we're not again looking at this phenomenon which some people treat to deal as a moral issue, that addicts are somebody we should never care about because, of course, they're throwaway people. I've seen and I've heard this actually said in this House about addicts, a stigma that we have heaped as parliamentarians upon addicts and not recognizing them, this as being a health issue, is something that I have fought. I know many of my colleagues here have fought that kind of language and that kind of stigma. But what I wanted to say is that we note as well in that kind of data is that no deaths occurred, zero deaths occurred at supervised injection sites or in drug overdose prevention sites, zero. And so what we know is that there are some things that have helped him, because at those places your drugs can be analyzed to see if it's tainted with anything, if it's been mixed with something. That's a safe thing to then you know when you come and bring your drug to be injected. The other thing is that we know that at safe injection sites, naloxone kits have been distributed widely so that people can have access to naloxone wherever and whenever they are. Now, we can go, nobody has done enough. We can say our government has done so much and we sent so much money. I think the bottom line here is that it's not working. When in September of 2018, we saw a 38% increase. And I don't think it's not working because no one has decided what the silver bullet is, because there is no silver bullet. This is a very complex issue. People are trying with goodwill, and I have to say that there is a lot of goodwill involved here. People are trying with goodwill to come up to whatever they think could be done to save lives. But I wanted you to know that when you're giving $213 million for treatment measures, and only $50 million of that has been taken up by provinces, we have a problem. Provinces who say when, how, and who deliver services aren't taking up this money. I've heard people talk about treatment. When we set up the safe injection site, which was the very first one in Canada, and when we did a lot of the work on that, we found out that the people who came into the safe injection site, who knew that they weren't going to die, were ready to go to a treatment center. And we created a 25-bed unit above in-site called on-site, where they were able to go straight up. So treatment is important. But if we don't get take-up from the money we're putting into treatment by provinces, we have to do something that will make this happen, because we can no longer allow partisanship, whether it's federal, provincial, or political, to get involved in this issue like we did in the Vancouver Agreement. We cannot allow this to continue to occur because nobody gets along and no one talks to each other. So I think this is very interesting that we need to look at some of the information, some of the best practices, some of the things that we have seen work. I don't want to blame, but I want to say that we had only 417 overdose deaths in 1998. Those deaths went right down to almost zero after we'd put in the Vancouver Agreement and the harm reduction. And yet in this House, I have fought and fought over the years when people said harm reduction is a dirty word. Harm reduction, what are we doing with harm reduction? Well, harm reduction saves lives and decreases morbidity while you're waiting for a resolution or a treatment. So it's keeping people alive, and that's what we're talking about here. So harm reduction is really important. So when you poo-poo safe needles or clean needles or safe injection sites, you're poo-pooing the thing that would keep people alive. And in 10 years, this has gone up to the crisis we see today because a government decided that it would do nothing about it. It fought safe injection sites, even to the Supreme Court, where the province of British Columbia and the city of Vancouver took the federal government of the day, the Harper government, to court to fight this issue because it is about life, liberty, and security of the person. And yet the issue was fought for 10 years, and over those 10 years, we saw the numbers of overdose deaths creeping upward. We can say that happened in the past. Let's do something about it now. Let us not use ideology as an excuse for saying treatment is better than something. The four pillars told us that there was no one thing that was better than the other. Let us move forward to do all of those things that we can do together. I think that is an important thing. Morality is not an issue here. Let us not stigmatize addicts and say, look at those people. They're not important people. They're throwaway people. Look at them. They get HIV. They get AIDS. Blah, blah, blah. That is not the issue. We cannot talk about people like that in this House of Commons because we now see that we're representing people, and this is happening across the country. Vancouver, British Columbia has been ground zero. And a lot of people have said if this were happening elsewhere, we would have done something about it. And I'm here to say that I agree with those people, that this was allowed to occur in British Columbia for a long time before a government did anything about it. When this government came in, we decided to act as soon as we can to move forward in doing the things that we could do to fix this problem. Now we haven't fixed it. We know that, and we know that there is no silver